Hello again. I needed to check through the contents of my van bag, so I thought it might be a good opportunity to get back in the YouTube saddle by telling you what's inside. You'll notice that I keep switching between van bag and truck bag, and that's the beauty of keeping a vehicle safety kit in a bag rather than a box. It's interchangeable between vehicles and can even be carried on foot. As long as that bag's on board, I can be sure I've got enough kit to keep me safe, warm, fed and watered, whatever happens en route or whatever I decide to do. In that respect, it could also be known as a grab bag or a go bag, but not really a bug out bag, which always sounds a bit dramatic to me. It's really just a handy rucksack that remains permanently packed with some essential kit items that allows me to blunder out the front door in a confused state and still be fully prepared for whatever might come my way. I hope you find it useful. This is the bag. It's a Berghaus Erect Tour. 45 litres plus another 8. It's a few years old and I don't really use it for anything else. It's a rucksack that I can leave in the van packed. Still a good rucksack, but I'm not too worried about it and I don't need it for other things. Things I would change on it, the straps are a bit skinny, that's probably why I don't use it as much. Just enough pockets and zips and capacity to hold what I need for an emergency bag. It's not overly big, also pretty discreet as bags go. It doesn't scream prepper, it's not camouflage, it's not kind of festooned with webbing pouches and bam. It doesn't look military in any way. It's just a bog standard, fairly crap really looking rucksack, not looking all that attractive to anybody that might want to nick it. So I've tried to avoid overfilling any external pockets. Just got a pair of gloves in there. The two expandable pockets are currently empty, but there's another 8 litres in these two side pockets. If I was going to take it anywhere and leave my vehicle, then I've got room there to stick extra water bottles, extra clothing, that kind of stuff. In the lid pocket, I've got 2 pouches. So it's worth pointing out that the kit that I carry in this bag might not necessarily be just for me to use. So what I've done is I've labelled pouches where I can in this little bag here. I'm not going to go on too much about why I carry stuff, I'll just show you what's in there and you can fill in the gaps. So mini water filtration systems, this is a Sawyer pump. Nice and simple, easy to use. If it wasn't me that was using it, then whoever was using it would easily figure it out, especially since I left the instructions in there. And if I didn't have a lot of water on me, but where I was starting from before my hike, there was clean water, then I could fill this up. This can take 10 litres, is an 40 water carrying bag, so I could fill that up either full or partially full, and I've got a lot more water carrying capacity. Head torch. So this is the Petzl Tactica, like a tactical sort of head torch. It's a few years old now. A lot of the kit that I've used, and it was still good kit and I've sort of retired it, has ended up in this bag. So this is a perfectly good head torch, yet it's a bit broken, so I've mended it with black masking tape, but it gives out good light, the batteries last a long time. I might need to signal other vehicles if my truck or van has broken down. So a choice of lights is quite handy for that. It also flashes, there's a flashing mode on it too. And we've got spare batteries. There's a mesh pocket in the lid, just under the lid, and this is where my sort of hygiene kit is. And toilet roll, basic wash kit. So like I say, it's not just for emergencies, it's not just for apocalyptic scenarios. This may well be, and this has happened to me before, where I thought I was going to get home before the end of the day, and then for some reason I haven't. I've had to stay the night. So again, little bar of soap, toothpaste, toothbrush is just a nice thing to have when you suddenly have to spend the night in your truck, and then teach or whatever it is you got to do, work the next day. Sounds pretty miserable, doesn't it? First aid pouch. Because this always lives in my vehicle, then this really is my vehicle first aid kit, but it's also a bit of everything sort of emergency kit. It is a fanny pack, bum bag, whatever you want to call it, hip pouch, and it's got a couple of extra pockets here. you've got your standard stuff, big emergency bandages, possibly a little bit more comprehensive than, you know, a standard sort of popping out for the day type first aid kit. But there's tweezers and different types of plasters and a magnifying glass and steri strips in there. There's slightly bigger wound dressings in there. There's pills and potions of various different types in here. There's a pair of paramedics shears, which always comes in handy. Casualty cards, basic instructions, some stuff for big bleeds, antiseptic hand wipes, microporous tape, tubular bandage for crappy old knees, latex gloves, creams, eye wash, energy tablets, wound dressing, bandaging pins, and you can't smell this, but I can. That's why it's double bagged. And again, not really first aid, but something that you want to have with you. Insect repellent. This is that stinky Nordic summer stuff. I do love the smell of it, but it kind of gets on absolutely everything, so I keep it double bagged in there. A silver compass, just a small sort of base plate, but a very usable compass, various different pencils in there, and then in here some, I'll whiz through this because I want to keep it fairly short. Information. Where is it? Kind of stuff that you may need, but you know, unless you're using it every day, you would forget. Morse code. Probably people looking at this thinking, don't be a loon, when are you ever going to do Morse code? You'll be sorry. And speed kilometers per hour, and notepad, paper, pencils, all in a little padded case. Getting onto emergency gear now. This is kind of stuff that either I might need if I was using this as a standalone kit, or I could give to somebody else if they were in trouble. It's kind of doubling up on the rest of the stuff that I've got in there. You can see what's in here. A signal mirror, which is also good for getting stuff out your own eye, as I think I've said in other videos as well. Some tinder, getting your fire going, some gaffer tape. There's a candle, which is really handy for helping you get a fire going in the rain or wet conditions, but also just as a very low kind of heat source overnight. There's some matches as well, and a survival shelter. What's all in here, isn't it? Water sterilising tablets, and a tough plastic bag to hold water. And a green water filter bag. Yeah, this is kind of stuff I wouldn't necessarily use unless I absolutely had to, but it's handy to have it nonetheless. Little signal mirror there, nice brightly coloured tub, a big orange plastic bag that folds down small, and Mylar reflective bags. There's the candle, there's the water filter bag made out of nylon. Yeah, a handy kit to have. And then some spares and repairs, paracord, always useful, and zip ties, always useful. The amount of things that have fallen off my truck that I've been able to temporarily fix back on with zip ties, you won't believe it. It's pretty much held together with that and masking tape. Good little knife here, which again is not really for kind of bushcrafty type stuff. This is an emergency get you out the crap knife. So it's got serrated teeth for cutting ropes, and you can use this as a little sort of mini wrench. It's got a whistle on it, you know, it's nice and brightly coloured. It's an emergency sort of rescue knife. There's another little torch in here, which 9 times out of 10 is the one that I use. Just a little O light, quite bright, only takes one battery. You can clip it on the side of your hat or onto your lapel or something like that. A really handy little torch. Batteries last for ages, and a whistle, all attached to a lanyard on a clip, so you can get them off, but they won't get lost. And then in here, you know, stuff, not really emergency stuff, but I feel like it would be a crime to Lofty Wiseman if I didn't carry it somewhere in there. Some snare wire and a basic fishing kit. But then more importantly, batteries. And this is why I'm going through this kit and checking it, because I think they have leaked. So stuff like that needs to be renewed, which is why you need to check on it so it's usable when you need to use it, so I'll put those to one side. So next, there's going to be no surprises here for people that go out walking regularly. A breathable waterproof jacket. Again, this is my old but still usable waterproof jacket, but there's plenty of life in the old dog yet, and that lives in there for a rainy day. Tools. I'll come back to that in a second. If it's just an emergency kit that you're after carrying, really, in terms of emergency toolage, everything that you would probably need is in here. Good strong pair of scissors and a sharp knife, things like tweezers and stuff like that. That's kind of all you really need for, to get you out of a pickle. That's all in there, so that's all good. So really these are sort of luxuries. A knife, just a little knife. This is a Ben Orford Pixie, I think. Lovely little knife with a fire steel attached, with a cord that you can wear around your neck if you're not wearing a belt. To back that up, a saw. This is just a silky pocket boy with a new blade on. It's nice and small and lightweight, and if I drop it, I won't lose it. In this little sort of homemade leather pouch, I had a moment of inspiration where I thought I'll make a little pouch with a very sort of primitive and basic buckle idea that closes the flap, but if you then needed to wear it on your belt, turn it round, pop that through there, like that. Now it's a belt loop. So yeah, multi-purpose, and the saw doesn't fall out. A multi-purpose saw pouch, so it can protect the rest of my kit from the saw when it's being carried about, and then I can carry it on my belt if I need to. Yeah, I don't know why I don't use that all the time. It's quite good. Just patting myself on the back there. This isn't my regular sharpening stone. In fact, I'm not sure I've even used this, but it's there if I needed it, and I've got some wet and dry paper too, which is quite handy for sharpening and just general tool maintenance. That just lives in there. This is a cold steel tomahawk that I've trimmed down, cut the handle down. I've added some old bicycle inner tube for grip up near the handle when you're carving, and then down the bottom for when you're chopping, and a little bit of cord. I've also, I know these are designed to come off, these heads. I've actually wedged that in so that it won't come off. It's well and truly wedged in there, and glued, so that ain't going nowhere. It's got a homemade sheath which did start life as a belt sheath, but the belt bit got in the way and I never really used it, so it just comes off the handle there like that. And it's a fairly lightweight axe if I needed it for splitting and chopping firewood, if I did plan to do some bushcrafty stuff out in the woods. But then in terms of emergency stuff, it's also got this hammer on the back. And I have been in a situation where I was the second car in a line of traffic, where there was a car on fire. Just came around the corner one night on the way home, and there was a burning car in front of me, and luckily the people had already got out. But ever since that, I've always carried a tool with me in the car that I could use to break my way into somebody else's vehicle if I needed to, or potentially even break my way out of mine if I needed to. But yeah, that kind of scared me a little bit. A poncho, fairly self-explanatory. You could wear it as a raincoat. You could set it up as a shelter. I have in the past strung up a poncho off the side of my van to make a lean-to, and that works really well, and you can get a couple of you under there quite happily. And again, I went for something that wasn't camouflage. I don't want to look like a prepper, I don't want to look like a soldier. Grey colour, but this is a Telecontex US model, blah, 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 you know the ones. Not permanently attached to it, but ready to be attached to it. Some bank line, guy lines, and a bit of paracord as a ridge line. On the end of these bits of bank line, I've just got a pre-tied loop, so I can loop the loop through the eyelet and then pass the rest of that through the loop, and nice and easy, no knot tying required because I've already done it, and I've got guy lines on there good to go. And then if I wanted to wear it, I can take those off, because you really do not want to be tripping over trailing guy lines. So what else? This is my Canteen Pouch. Now, one of the videos that I'm going to do next week is I need to make a new one of these. So I'm thinking of showing you how to make, it might be a two-parter, how to make what's inside or part of what's inside, and also how to make the pouch, which has a draw cord that you can open up, but also, because I hate trying to get things in and out of a tight pouch, so it all opens up and you can get it out dead easy. This pouch could be worn on the belt. It's got a belt loop and it's got some pockets around the outside. Because this is my canteen, and you'll see what's in here in a second, but there's things in here that I would need that go with it: a lighter and some tinder in a plastic bag, some Steri-Tabs, more Steri-Tabs. I've got some in the emergency kit as well, and a sachet of hot chocolate, and a homemade nylon water filter bag. So what's in it? Well, a little stainless steel cup stroke mini cook set. Got a stainless steel 1 litre water bottle. I've cut the rubber so I can take the lid right off, and if I needed to I could boil my water in this, because it's just a single walled stainless steel water bottle, not all that expensive, from the bushcraft store. Here comes the rain again. And then a slightly bigger cup. This was a titanium one from Outkit, again not all that expensive for titanium cups. There's a lid for this too, but this is my sort of cup stroke cook pot, and it all stacks together. And then also in here, a windshield from an old roasting dish. Well, it's not old because it hasn't been used, but a nice cheap way of making a windshield. Spoon. This is the bit that I'm going to make as a sort of how-to guide next week. Yeah, it's an IKEA stove, but my version of an IKEA stove, and it works really well. You can see I've had quite a bit of use out of it. Talk about it more next week. So rather than waffling on like a crazed maniac, I thought I'd set the stove up so you could see exactly how it all goes together if I was using fuel tablets or fuel gel. These tent pegs I've brought right down so that the cup's got a little bit of protection from the weather, and it also keeps the heat right underneath the cup, so there's a really fast cooking time when you use this setup. And then the windshield is big enough and rigid enough so that I can put it wherever I want, and that keeps the wind off. I can dig it into the ground a little bit if I need to, or I can back it up with some, I'll prop it up with some stones or rocks so that it doesn't fall over and get blown away. But that works really well with a simple fuel gel. If I've used all my fuel gel up or I don't want to use it, then I can take that out, put it back in the bottom, take the tent pegs out, lift the cup up, and light split wood in there. Once you get a good bed of embers in there and you're feeding it in from the side, that works really well, gives off a good heat. Just using free fuel, it burns down really efficiently and effectively into just ash in the bottom there, which is really easy to put out. I also carry a welder's mat to put underneath the whole caboodle. So it's a great little setup. As you can see, it's pretty much bomb-proof and it's mostly homemade. So I'm going to do a two-part series next week. One will be showing you how I make the stove, and then the second one will be how I make the pouch. So yeah, look forward to that. So we're getting close to the end of what's in the pack now. Quite a big food bag. Like I say, this isn't necessarily going to be just for me. I've got some emergency stuff in here as well as standard day out stuff. 2 little cups there. I've got the fuel for my stove if I'm not using natural wood. This is your Fire Dragon fuel here. This is really good. Non-toxic, quick and easy to light. Lights even when wet. Made from sustainable ingredients. Reduces cooking time. Low odour when burning. Safely stored with food. suitable for extreme conditions. So yeah, really good stuff from Fire Dragon. Sorry to say, but the chocolate I would normally carry in here has been eaten, and that was me. There's a big old bar of fruit and nut, and it was just winking at me, and I ate it. There's no easy way to say I ate it. There is one Snickers left, which feels a little bit like it might have melted and then gone sort of firm again. I'll eat that though. I've got some hot chocolate in there. This is the sort of standard day out stuff. I've got some Quaker oats in there. Oats are simple. I've got another spoon. Like I say, it might not be just me that's using this kit. There might be several people. More oats. Beef jerky, just original. Couple of mug shots. This is perfect for a sort of unplanned day out, or like I've had to do many times, just make myself up a quick bit of lunch in the back of the van. A few cup of soups. Not always nice to have a cup of soup, especially when the weather's cold, but just to flavour up and bulk out one of these, they work really well. Some sugar and salt. A little tin opener. Okay, so buy a tin and it hasn't got a tin opener attached. And then this is the emergency stuff that I'll carry. This is something I'm not going to eat, like that big old bar of fruit and nut, unless I absolutely have to. This is lifeboat rations, but there's a lot of calories in there. It's quite dense and quite heavy, but a lot of calories. It lasts for absolutely years. Yeah, 2,000. I've written on there 2,500 calories in that box alone. No cooking needed. So if I couldn't light a fire, or I didn't want to light a fire or a stove, then I could still chew my way through that. So last two things in here now. One is this foam matting. I'm not really intending to spend the night out with this bag, although I could do if I needed to. And if I did need to, then I've got these pieces of foam. It's better than nothing. It'll get me up off the floor. In reality, what I'm going to use this for is a sit pad, as well as extra padding in the back of the rucksack. There's a couple of big, strong bin bags in there. Always useful to have some bin bags, and that's probably the best place for them, down the back of there. And they just live in that sleeve. Lastly, I've got this. This is a homemade jobby, and I've used it in non-emergency situations, and it works really well. So you might recognise that. This was a British Army bivvy bag, breathable, waterproof bivvy bag. I cut it down one side and opened it up so that it makes one big blanket, and I've lined it with insulation sandwiched between two layers of ripstop nylon. There's female and male velcro that will bring the whole thing together. So this would be the foot end if I needed to make it into a sleeping bag. That continues up down the side, and I'm not particularly tall, but I am quite chunky, and I could fit in this perfectly, no problem, even though I had to trim it down a little bit. Luckily the British Army bivvy bags are massive, so you can trim them down a bit and change them around to alter them, and they'll still be a decent size. And then there's a zip. The last sort of 40% of the bag can be zipped to allow you to get in and out more easily, and then there's a drawer cord that runs around the top so I can cinch that all in. This works really well as a sleeping bag, and I've used it in late March as a sleeping bag. It was absolutely fine. It certainly wasn't just a kind of keep me from dying type emergency blanket. So the insulation is Thinsulate CS150, I think. You get it in the UK from a company called Point North. It's a synthetic insulation. It comes on a mesh, so it's not loose insulation that you kind of stuff into compartments within the lining. I took a bit of a chance with it and I just left it as a mesh. I didn't sew in, as I have done on some of the other things that I've made, little boxes to keep it all in place. I've just relied on the fact that it's already attached to a mesh. It is sandwiched in between 2 layers of nylon and then the waterproof material, but I was kind of thinking, because it's not something I'm going to use all the time, it's more of an emergency item and it's only really got to do one thing. I'm not wearing it and wandering around with it. It's just a sleeping bag for laying in. I just didn't bother sewing the different compartments in. I may come to regret that at some point in the future, but for now that works really well. So yeah, Thinsulate, CS 150 insulation, 2 layers of ripstop nylon, an old British Army bivvy bag, and I've got something that can either be used as a sleeping bag for one person, or I can open it all up. This is a great big blanket. You could get a couple of you in there and wrap yourself up, put the poncho over you as well. So it's a good multi-use item. It's my version of the old tartan granny blanket.
What the blanks is this ritual?
So there we have it. That's my year-round emergency kit that I'll always have in the back of my vehicle. All sorts of life-saving and emergency and first aid equipment in there, with some survival stuff too. More toolage, water, a way of making water safe to drink, and a way of carrying another 10 litres in that pouch. Water and cooking all in this pouch. More illumination, more spare batteries, shelter and an extra waterproof layer, a breathable waterproof layer, quite a lot of food, possibly more than I need, but as you can see I keep eating it, and a very effective all-weather, all-season extra warm layer that you could also sleep in if you needed to, all in that 45 litre rucksack. Well, I hope you found something in this little film useful. If so, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.